Welcome to this special edition of MFM Speaks Out. This is the official podcast of the nonprofit musicians' rights advocacy organization, Musicians for Musicians. MFM seeks to unite musicians of all locations, traditions, disciplines, and genres for their mutual self-betterment, whether through education, networking, or political action. MFM's ultimate goal is to elevate the work of all musicians to the level of a true profession. And we encourage you to get involved by using the hashtags on social media, Unity in the Music Community, and Making Music as a Profession. We also encourage and invite you to visit our website, musiciansformusicians.org, and to join our organization. If you'd like to become a supporter, you may do so by visiting our website. Again, that's musiciansformusicians.org. And I am your host, Dawoud Kringle, in this special edition of MFM Speaks Out. First of all, it was the first time that we presented it in a video format. And second, I'm speaking with MFM's founder and president, Sarab Sadat Lajavardi, aka SoSaLa, and we're going to be discussing MFM's 10th anniversary. We have been in existence for 10 years, and we're looking back, and we're going to look ahead.
Well, usually the guest says, "Thank you for having me."
Well, I think this is more of a, not so much.
Friends. Through MFM, really, Dawoud, you and I, we really became friends and also music colleagues. And I mean, during these 10 years, you have been really around me. So my love and thank you very much for your good work. And I hope you will stay with me and MFM for another 10 years. And it's not easy to be for somebody like you who works for a radio station and being a touring and performing musician, a composer, also do the extra work for MFM. So I really appreciate that you got the extra time and energy to be on board.
Well, you remember when you first started formulating the idea of MFM back in 2015, and you were looking at the state of the music scene in New York City, and the state of the music business in the United States, and you didn't like it, and you were right in not liking it. There was a lot of things wrong, and in addition to being a master musician and a master of other arts, you are by nature a warrior.
Oh,
there's a lot of ways to interpret that, but you saw that this was unacceptable and decided to do something about it. And I admire that. I respect that, and I'm grateful to you for all of your work too. And you and I, started talking about this. There were these late evening meetings that we would have at coffee shops and restaurants, and we were kicking around all kinds of ideas and scratching our heads, saying, what could be done? What could work? And and that's another thing about you being a warrior. You really put your money where your mouth is. You took responsibility for all of this, and that wasn't easy. And there were some stumbling steps, when we were trying to get this thing started, because in a lot of ways, there's other organizations that are trying to achieve the same goals that MFM is, but in a lot of ways MFM is taking a different path with this. You know, we're taking up the slack that other musicians' rights organizations are not covering, or at least not covering as much, and that's vital. That's an important thing to do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, even without being unkind to our members, they even sometimes don't know what kind of organization they are in. Like some say, when people ask them, what is MFM? Yeah, we're kind of a union. We're a musicians' rights organization, instead of saying, well, we are the 501c6, which is an association, right?
Mm-hmm.
So an association represents a workforce or a business league or a certain type of professionals. And it's a membership organization. So when we started, just to even the board, including the board, to make understand why I thought of a C6, 501c6, an association and not the union, is because we have already a musicians union. Why should I create another union and compete? That's stupid. Also financially stupid. And on the other hand, if we have a really mean union, they could kill us out of the, how would you call it, they would do everything that MFM wouldn't succeed or close even, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the problem was, first of all, when I founded MFM, also to understand what an association is. And I wanted it to be an association because as the name says, musicians for musicians, which is musicians take care of musicians. And musicians speak out on their behalf. So it's like we are really DIY, to do it yourself, independent. And only people who believe in MFM's mission would join. And then you remember we had a problem. The first problem was not even to understand what kind of status MFM has as an organization. Yes, it was non-profit. Yes, some people say even non-profit. Yeah, we are only non-profit because we are an association, because all the income we make through member dues, goes into the organization, into the membership, and it doesn't go out to a certain community. This is a C3. These are the real non-profit, right? So these are the things I even had to learn in the first year in order to share my new knowledge to my board members and also to a couple of members. So then do you remember we had a problem? Should it be a due-paying organization, as a free or due-paying musicians organization?
Yeah, I remember that.
It was actually, we had a really big kind of a conversation on our board when you were, and me and my wife, and I forgot his name. Whatever. When we were 4 people, that actually I wanted to start with membership dues, because I believe that when somebody pays into something, this person will be also committed and be part of that organization. Free, it's like everything you get for free. Usually it's not good quality somehow, or there's something behind it. I mean, if you buy a free application, after 1 week, you feel like, oh, I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. So then you start, oh, now I should buy a certain program of that application. Then you're willing to pay, right?
Right.
But with MFM, it was very tough to make musicians join based on free membership or dues. So we decided on the first board to give it for free for a year. And what happened is, as you remember, we got really many members. I mean, it was like, 150 or so. And then for we did it, I don't know exactly, but for 2 years. And then I decided, oh, the board, you were not at that board anymore
No.
because you left after a year because of your music career. And so you were very busy, but you stayed anyway as a contributor for the online magazine Doobie Doobie Doo New York. So when we decided to start with a $5 monthly payment, membership due payment, 150 left except of you. Suddenly people were not interested anymore. It was like, oh. So that was something I couldn't understand, that people have a problem to pay a membership fee in order to help the organization to work for them, you know? The
Yeah.
idea, do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah, and it kind
And
of
I
weeded.
really freaked out.
I remember that. Yeah, you didn't like that one bit, but
No, not at
but
all.
yeah, it came to the point where we realized that having to pay a membership fee, it motivated people to want to put some effort into getting an getting something back from that investment. I mean, that's just basic human nature,
Right.
and these were lessons learned, because like we said earlier, this nothing like MFM had existed before, and we didn't know what would work and what wouldn't, and we're making up the rules as we go along, But yeah, that's how that was,
Also, the mission statement really has changed,
Evolved.
evolved. Yeah, now it's very simple. When you join MFM, it's basically that you try collectively with your other members to find a way that wherever you work, that you get paid fairly.
Mm-hmm.
It's now really simply about fair pay. So whether you compose or you go on tour or you play at a club, or when you record as a sideman, that you have the language and also the knowledge and also the courage to demand your price.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody, it can be venue, it can be a recording session, when somebody comes and says, you know what, I pay you for 1 hour this. If it doesn't make sense for you to work for that fee, you say, you know what, that's not what I would like to receive from you, because you ask me, you hire me, so I would like to be paid this and this, and then you explain. And if it's like this person you call, when you get hired and you talk to, even if it's a leader, it's your employer, right? If you have the ability even then to talk in a way like he says 50, but you are demanding $100, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But if you know the business side of dealing and wheeling,
Yeah.
it's possible that your employer says, man, you're right, it wasn't fair, I pay you the 100. Or the employer says, you know what, I have a budget of this, and he tells you how much money he has and explains things, that he would say, you know what, are you okay with $75? And when you hear your employer, whoever wants to hire,
Mm-hmm.
you then as a human being, you said, okay, but please put then my name and give me a credit then.
Yeah.
Or even you could say, you know what, you could say even, okay, I agreed to the 50, but make me to a co-composer in case I'm involved in making the song, right? So these are the techniques you need to know. So
yeah, some kind of way of sweetening the deal, if they can't meet your exact price, toss something in there, make it make it worth your while somehow, I mean, it's like simple exchange, simple compensation, acknowledging that one's work has value and acknowledging that the other guy's work has value. And in a lot of ways, I understand how it can be difficult for some employers or venues to have difficulty meeting prices because I've occasionally produced my own concerts. Some of them I made a profit from. Some of them were a train wreck, but it was instructive to me because it gave me a glimpse into the other side of it, and
Yes.
it's good business, ethical business is something where both people walk away happy, and walk away with something from the deal, that both people have an advantage. And that's one thing that I noticed is with as far as ethical business practices, is that you can't look at it as like a Donald Trump type of thing where it's a zero-sum game, is that the only way to win is that the other guy must lose. That's not necessary, and ultimately
Or the
it's
other way, that he
self-defeating.
must gain.
Yeah, and
He always wants to win.
yeah, but the thing about him, and a lot of people like him, is that he doesn't feel like he has won unless the other guy loses, and that's self-defeating. I mean, that not only ruins things for the people involved in the deal, it actually has repercussions in society at large, and it sets very bad precedents.
Sure.
But of course,
Let's go back to this is an issue I have with musicians is when I go to a venue just by chance and hear music and I enter the venue and I don't see somebody at the entrance trying to sell me a ticket that I can go in for free, get to the bar, and then I hear the music and then listen to the music, not hear, listen to the music. And especially when I enjoyed it, that after the concert, either I see somebody coming with a hat or really it's like, hey, can you pay for a donation? And this is something I still can't stand. I don't want to go to a venue and see musicians play in that style, which is really, I would call it even unprofessional. And this is also one of the reasons I started MFM, because before MFM, when I came, do you remember I came from Tokyo in
yes,
2008?
yeah.
So the first thing I did was, at that time I was 55, I think. Wow, this is New York.
Yeah, I do. It ain't that ain't not ever gonna stop, man.
So
Anyway,
my so-called music career started on the streets of New York, parks, streets, subway stations, wherever, and had my hat. And sometimes I was paid well, sometimes I wasn't. And when I saw then people passing by, taking video shots of me or even saying they liked the music and they didn't put any money in my hat, So I thought, man, so many times I really jumped up, stopped music. Hey, why don't you want to pay? And then there were certain people who will never pay. I hope I don't sound like a racist, but according to the experience I have had, Japanese don't give you a penny, Iranians don't give you a penny, um, uh, uh, also Germans don't give you a penny. Usually New Yorkers pay. usually,
Yeah.
because they know the culture, right?
Right.
So East Europeans don't pay, and I said, that's
Israelis
not.
won't pay you.
Yeah.
Israelis will expect you to pay them.
I couldn't believe it. And then once I talked with another street musician, he said, Sorab, you know what? The reason why they don't pay is because you don't play any mainstream music. You play so well. Why don't you play James Brown or whoever? The people that, if they know the music, they pay. And I was on the west side of the Central Park, but he was on the east side at the museum. And he said, Sorab, you know what? If I go and play for a couple of hours, I make between $150 and $200. And I made only 20 maybe during the same time. And I said, really? And you know what I did then? Ask him later was, um, so you make 200, or let's say even 100. So you make then $3,000 a month times 12 is 36K, right? A year? Is it
Yeah, I
correct?
think so. Yeah, my math is not so
Okay,
good, but yeah,
whatever. So
I'll
I
take your
said,
word for it.
so I said, are you filing to the IRS? And he said, why should I? I said, well, don't you want that bridges should be maintained, that you want to save save Amtrak? I don't know. Don't you want to share a little your income with the community, with New York City? And she said, doesn't matter. Why should I? And it's actually not so much. I said, it's a lot. It's a lot. If you make 36,000, I know of musicians who make even half of it or even less. So it's good money. And if it's he said, well, you know, in summer I make a lot, and then in winter because it's cold, not so much. So I try to balance. I said it doesn't matter. And then it was just before Obamacare started, and I asked him,
No.
are you insured? No, why should I be insured? I said, well, something could happen to you and then you can't play. So how do you make your income? You know what? I live in the moment. And I couldn't believe it. So then when Obamacare started and I met musicians, all the musicians I met at that time, they were complaining they don't have health insurance, or even if they're on the union, they don't make enough income in order to get a insurance plan from the union. So I said, well, it's not a problem. If you file to the IRS and you file that you are poor, you get Obamacare for free. And then they said, you're kidding. I said, no, I'm not kidding. The filing makes a lot of sense because you prove that you are working, but not enough, then you get the benefits. Or you must be so homeless as a musician that you get the benefits automatically anyway. But you as a professional musician, looking at you, you belong to the, let's say, middle class or lower middle class. So why don't you use an IRS filing to get the Obamacare health insurance? And then you go to the doctor and fix your problems, right? So this is the issues I had in the beginning with musicians, that they don't have common sense, or they are not willing to learn things, or they make music to an art, call it art, and they want to keep it as an art. And then there are many of them also who don't really make much money. They have somebody who takes care of them. It can be girlfriend, if it's a guy, can be the boyfriend for a woman, I don't know. So they have their income coming from somebody else. And then, they make a story, oh, I make great music, without telling people that the financial support comes from somewhere, right?
Right.
So this is all that made me decide, man, I should organize musicians who are on the same page, who are understanding that there's no way out of the dark tunnel without really collective action. So then I joined our musicians union, uh, I think it was in 2000, oh, 2013 maybe.
Mm. I was going to say 12, but close
Oh
enough.
yeah, okay. No, it's okay. So maybe 2012. And then I joined the union with the hope to find my comrades.
Hmm.
And then I got involved with the Justice Jazz Artist campaign. Um,
Yeah, that was the turning point, I think, when, uh,
yes,
jazz for justice. I forget the exact name of it, but I remember that. That was the turning point. That was the seed for for the beginning of MFM. And you were working with them, and I remember that there was this thing happening where the
it's called
jazz.
Justice for Jazz Artists.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you. Senior moment here. But remember, there was a whole controversy that was going on that the musicians union had organized. I think it was the musicians union had negotiated this deal between the jazz clubs, the main jazz clubs in New York, and the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance, where they would take a certain percentage of what they were paying the
No, not take. It was that they would waive the
waive
tax on
the
ticket
tax.
sale.
Right, that's it. That's it. Thank you.
And
That's
as a
exact.
thank you,
They would
they,
take that and put it
of
into a
the
fund
yeah,
for.
no, yeah, right. They would pay then 2 or 3% of their revenue into the pension of the performing musicians, right?
And every single jazz club reneged on their side of that deal. All of them, without exception. And yeah, that got a lot of people upset, man.
Yeah, what happened is that uh, the union agreed with the six, especially the six major jazz clubs. It became law, but it became only law the waive side of the tax, waiving the tax. But
Hmm.
um, um, the governor at that time was this Potesk, I forgot this name, Potesky
Yeah,
or
yeah, I
whoever.
forget. Yeah.
He decided not to get the demand that the venues pay a certain percentage into the pension fund. He didn't because it's a he said it's undemocratic even he said. Yeah, he said it's he doesn't have the power to tell venues how to spend their money. And that was a shocker for the union. And the union had to decide then, should we forget the bill and say, okay, we give up, or go and make it to a law that at least the venues get their tax waived? And then we talk to them again. And then when they started to talk to them, nothing happened. They were ignored. And the conversation didn't go through from person to person conversation through emails. And then waiting 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year. By now, none of the venues responded.
Yeah.
So the Blue Note, Village Vanguard, Birdland, all these clubs. And they make so much money now. But the only thing they do now is because they got this tax waived, sometimes they are willing to do like uh, maybe they raised a little their musician's fee or so because it doesn't look good if you just take the money, right? Or they do special midnight sessions for younger musicians like the Blue Note did,
Hmm.
and pay them like $500 or so as a guarantee. So yeah, so that's the problem that it was the union, and that was where I really got angry with the union, and I came with other ideas, and then they said, you know what, Saurabh, your ideas are too extreme. It doesn't match to our ideas. It sounds even socialistic. And I said, okay. And then the president at that time said, you know what? Why don't you do your activism outside of the union? I approve it. And he approved it even by writing. And I couldn't believe it. So, yeah, and
in a way that makes sense, because in the end, we may have different methods and different ideas, but ultimately it's all towards the same goal. Seeing to the rights of musicians and guarantee of an acceptable remuneration for our work. And over the last 10 years, MFM had accomplished a lot of things with what can be described as meager resources. We don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars to work with.
Right.
We just have our determination and our audacity, I guess.
Well, actually, that's not true. Even if it's a very small budget we live from, it's real money. It's real financial support by members. So I think our membership is still under 100. But still, we are core. The board is great, especially since COVID. We got really even better. We couldn't continue our in-person meetings, so everything switched to Zoom. But actually, with the pandemic and so, we got even closer to each other. And everything works now actually good for us. We do everything almost. We still continue Zoom, from the webinars to the workshops to the panel discussions, and it works fine. So which means that we don't really need a place to rent to do these meetings.
I do sometimes miss those face-to-face gatherings. They were fun. They were fun. They were interesting.
This year, actually, now with the anniversary celebration at the Cutting Room in Midtown New York, is actually the starting line to continue like that. Do you remember where you played at that record store called
Catalyst?
Catalyst.
Yes, that was my book signing event, and you were so gracious to show up.
I know. Well, Facebook told me to go. So through that, going to your book signing, I became friendly with the record shop owner, Jerry, right? Was it?
Yeah,
Jerry? Gary, right. And naturally, he, while you were setting up, I talked with him about MFM and so blah, blah, blah. I also brought some of my music, vinyl. I had it with me because I went to another vinyl store in Chinatown, which had closed 2 weeks before. So I had product music of myself and offered it, and he really bought the single and the LP. And then he said, so I'm really interested in MFM. I said, oh, okay. And I explained as good and short as much as possible. And he said, Saurabh, why? Look, Dawoud is playing here. I'm planning to have a in-house concert like once a month. Why don't we have a mixer happening? So I said, oh, that's a great idea. And we decided to have in December our mixer. So if that works fine, It's even possible with you as the first MFM member that other MFM members could play at that store, you know.
I'd love to play there again.
So this is something new which happens through your concert, and with the inspiration of of me, I got this deal, you know.
Yeah.
And this is why MFM is so strong. It's a roots organization, right? And we are very fast in all things we do, like in improvisation. So that makes us maybe also sexy looking in the music scene here in New York. On one hand, people like us because MFM speaks openly about everything, and we are very critical, but we are also an organization who wants to collaborate, which means we have to listen then to others as well, so that we come on the same page. And we are also an organization that wants to make really real change. It doesn't matter if it's big or small, something must happen. If nothing happening, people will leave, or they try to complain, and then the image of the organization gets really down the hill. So COVID gave us the power to be more concerned. We had a great board member with Keith Levinson, who helped members to get the benefit. What was it called? The pandemic. The $600 per month, right? So that's something our members got out of being an MFM. They got the $600 bucks for, I think, for almost for a year. So, and then with the webinars and workshops, which are all recorded and posted on the member portal, gives access for musicians to study the business side of music or anything, you know, we think need to be known in order to be professional.
And there's a lot of valuable information there. I mean, the information and the guidance and everything that's presented in those webinars that's available to our members. I mean, going someplace else for that kind of information. I mean, you know, you could probably sift through the internet, but if you, went to another source, that says, okay, I got this information, here. I mean, what are you going to pay for that? I mean, speaking for myself, I did try to contribute what I could to MFM, but I got a lot out of it. I profited from MFM, and I got no problem saying that because, if I can do it, anybody can do it, I try to give something and I get something from it, we all win.
Yeah, I mean, a good example is in 2024 when our Australian member Kina Wilkins came, and we collectively organized gigs here in New York, got her on MFM Speaks Out podcast. She even recorded 2 jam sessions, which were released as a CD later, a year later. So
you played on that, didn't you? Yeah.
Yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah.
Where were you at that time?
Nobody told me that I think that you guys recorded it before that show that we did at the
Brooklyn
Williamsburg Music Gallery.
Right.
And she didn't know who I was, so she never asked me. In fact, she and I were talking about it, and she says, "Wow, if I knew, who you were and what you were doing, I would have had you playing on that." And I said, "Oh gosh, darn it, maybe next time."
I think the other reason was that where we did the jam sessions, one was in the musician building on 48th Street and 6th or 7th Avenue. It's a big building, very old building, full of studios. It's called the Musicians
Oh,
Building.
the music building?
Ah, the music building.
Yeah, that's 8th Avenue between 38th and 39th. That's what
Okay.
I'm talking about. Oh man.
Yes.
Oh, I remember that
And
place from the
so,
80s. But
so
that's another story.
one of our Chris Colucci, one of our MFM members, had a studio there. So he offered his studio for the jam session, and automatically he likes to record, so he recorded as well. And the other one was with Michael Walsh. At that time, our vice president's president, also an MFM member, who had a studio on in Times Square, like also between 8th and 9th Avenue. So it was a small studio. So I think because of the number and the short notice of her coming, unfortunately, you were not involved. That's what
I
I'm
would
trying
have
to
liked,
say.
I would have liked to, but well, what are you going to do? But yeah, it worked out very nicely, nonetheless. And yeah, there was other things. I think that the legislation that MFM had endorsed, the Heroes Act, that we'd actually been active in supporting legislation that creates advantages for professional musicians, which is another very important function for musicians, But
Yeah, we were. I mean, we together we went even to the city hall and supported the Freelance Isn't Free Act. And
I remember that. Yeah,
and I gave the testimony, and you were recording it on an iPhone.
yeah, I remember that.
And
Yeah,
actually, this act became law. So the it was with the New York City Council Committee on Consumers Affairs, I think. So yeah, we did. We also were kind of supporters of the Music Modernization Act
that's yeah.
in 2019, I think it was, and then the Case Act. Then so many acts, It's like now we are supporting the American Fairness Music Act, which it's targeted at
Terrestrial radio,
radio
isn't it?
stations that
Yes,
they pay
yes.
royalties to feature artists, which is not happening. Only songwriters get paid. So
I know. In fact, there's something that you mentioned earlier that I work in radio.
yes,
And for those who don't know, I'm an operating engineer for a New York City-based radio broadcast corporation called Multicultural Broadcasting. And 4 times a year, we are, we have to fill out forms from BMI
yes.
that so and so is playing such and such within this block of time, and this song by this artist, this writer, and this everything. It's a lot of paperwork, and years ago I thought, oh, this is wonderful, and so during those times I would see if I could get my own music played as much as I could on these radio shows, and then imagine my shock when I learned that this really doesn't produce much of a result as far as putting money in the pockets of the people who actually own the rights to the music, And
But the thing is, no, it's when BMI pays only for performed music,
right, live music,
tracks, whatever. But they don't play. They like, for example, if you cover a song, right? Let's say "Strangers in the Night." The composer gets his royalties,
right,
but not
right.
you, the singer.
Right.
So that's the issue. In other countries, in Europe, there is a performance royalty. coming out of a performance, right? So, for example, if you play a cover song and you make a song very popular or very famous with a million sale of CDs and so, and it's played on radio, then you get paid as the featured artist,
Right.
and not being the composer of it, right? So this is missing with terrestrial radio and so, and especially public radio is not paying. So what changed is with the Music Modernization Act that digital radios paying to
Yeah.
featured artists. And so if this is happening digitally, why not then with terrestrial radio, right?
Right. Right. Yeah, I know. And then, of course, that leads us to opens up a whole can of worms for the whole streaming services, things like Spotify and Apple Music, etc.
Yes.
And that's, we could spend an hour on that alone, but and we have. But yeah, that's part of the fight.
Yeah, well, with the Washington organization UMAO, we are supporting their act to they're fighting against Spotify in terms of us making demand that they pay more, not the 0.003 for a stream.
And all of the other scams that they pull.
Right. But they're also fighting for the idea of a living wage.
Right.
So things are really happening, and unfortunately, it's not organized. Like musicians are fragmented, organizations are also fragmented. Instead of sharing energy, everything together, or leave one organization to be the think tank, and the other one is when there's a rally, they bring people to the rally. It's all separated. So unfortunately, the Recording Academy does its thing. Then the union does its things because of the different membership style, And then, so MFM, as I said, as you mentioned in your intro, yes, the first four important slogans, making music is a profession, that musicians really realize that they are a workforce, that they really must compensate it in order to survive. Then the second is unity in the music community, which is that MFM is reaching out to any organization or to any musician who makes music and finds a way to collaborate in a way that every task which each organization is doing is centralized in a way that it comes together. So it's like when you have a rally, you have 50 people in that organization and 50 here. If you're 100 and you go together to the same target, you have more power and more value than 50 going to the same target, And unfortunately, life it seems like it's about greed and power, especially in America with the capitalistic way of thinking and living in life, is that in America, if you don't have power, nobody listens to you. And I'm talking of good power, not negative, greedy power, So power is the most important thing. Therefore, organizing is so important. And since COVID, many, many more working groups or especially freelancers are understanding that being a freelancer is only one voice, but if you are with other freelancers, you can make a change. And so basically, other people call it really socialistic. It's socialism. Now with Momdani as our new who wants to become the next mayor, what he tries to do is also too socialistic for people. I don't understand. I mean, people have to come together like animals. To survive, you have to come together, work together, make music together, right?
Yeah, well, people have. I always say that there's no safeguards against human nature. Yeah, it's it's unfortunate, and there is always going to be some measure of competition between individuals and organizations. You're never going to get rid of that. That's never going to happen. And people, human beings do have some measure of narcissism. But the thing is to look at these things from a perspective of a more, what I would term as a moralistic practicality. Like what you're saying. I mean, this organization might have this idea and this objective. This organization might have this idea of how to do things, but we're still, in the same boat. We're still facing the same problems. That we can find a common ground between us. Support each other. And at the same time not interfering with each other, and to work together that we do win what we're trying to do. I mean, I remember I'm a Muslim, and I remember one time hearing a sermon.
I'm a pseudo Muslim.
Yeah, there you go. Well, anyway, I remember hearing a sermon at Friday Juma services once from a long time ago from a Bosnian Muslim, and at the time there was all kinds of war happening in Bosnia, and he was saying that out on the streets, people were getting killed, and women were being violated, and children were starving, and their houses were being bombed, and the men were in the mosques arguing about what the Sharia determines is the proper length for a man's beard. It's a matter of priorities. You don't I'm also a unrepentant Star Trek fan, and there's an old Klingon saying. Only a fool fights in a burning house. So I mean, there's we do have there's always a potential for us to work together and support each other without tearing each other down or getting caught up in arguments about minutia. I'm not a socialist myself, but I'm neither left nor right. It is my own personal political beliefs are so arcane. There's no name for it in English, but I see the value of working with individuals. And
but so, what? Sorry to interrupt you before I forget, but the most important thing which makes MFM different from other organizations is that's this third slogan, musician with attitude.
Yeah.
What I tried as the president, and Sal, one of our men that started to call me the fearless leader.
Yeah, Sal Cataldi.
That actually somehow I like it. The thing is, I don't want to be the leader, but I feel committed to MFM. I started it, and I should go on. And maybe I should die with it. But I feel myself, compared to other presidents of other organizations, is that I think that we musicians, in order to survive as working musicians, we have to change as people. We have to work on ourselves, becoming stronger, get courage, have the courage to say no, to deal with the audience, with politicians. So it's not just to become a member and believe that the MFM leadership achieves the task goals you are believing in it. No, each member has to grow as a person. And this is what really good musicianship is about. Coltrane said, John Coltrane said, I want to be a positive force in music. That's exactly what MFM wants to achieve. And I started it by myself. Like, for example, every time when I play, I tell you guys how much I demand. I say, I don't play for $30 or less at the venue. It must be $30. Or that I say, when for example, when I play at Summer Stage and the Summer Stage organization, it's a free concert. If I make a flyer, I say, yes, it's a free concert, but I get paid. So that the people who come to the Summer Stage and see me, called SoSaLa, know Sohrab is not playing for free. He respects himself so much and his music that he wants, and he gets compensated. So in order to be able to do that, you have to change as a person. You have to, it's a character thing, you know. So I hope that our members grow even as people, that they, when they are in when they are outside of MFM, when they're on stage or so, that they look already different from other musicians, right? Through their charisma, through their attitude. And some people even, you know, when I went to concerts, I happen to say really to the audience, hey, why don't you pay? Music has value. And Spotify is telling, and all the other DSPs, digital service providers, they devalue our music almost to zero. So in order to fight it, it's not enough to have a gun and kill that person or that organization or that idea. You have to have the courage to use your finger, you know, to make a change. So I think that's the most biggest difference of MFM and other organizations. I've never heard that the president of somebody talked about it. Hey man, if you want to achieve something with us, you must change your attitude. Because in America, you don't like to be critical to others, because it can go into racism issues and so. I don't have a problem with that. I'm talking about difference and not racism, right? So if somebody is wrong at MFM, people tell you you're wrong. And it's especially for younger musicians who play for free or for nothing, for a low fee, right? And also to tell younger musicians not to do that. You need courage. Because they will say, why shouldn't I? You can't stop me. You don't have the right to tell me even that I should play for more money, right? So so it's really a character thing. I think all musicians' rights organizations are going or are on a, I call it a civil movement. If we want to survive as musicians, things really need to be done and said, that the public, the consumers, hear from us that music has value. We are the only people who can convince them. If we can convince the Spotify subscribers or the YouTube subscribers to stop for 1 month or 2 months or 6 months, nothing will change, because the only way to make music valuable is to let the exploiters know that if they don't treat us with respect, they lose money.
Yeah, you know, that's, I remember Ken Hatfield, one of our prominent members, and a brilliant man, master guitarist. He was talking about how, you know, these streaming services and whatnot are essentially offering the music that people want to hear, offering it to them for free. And how do you compete with free, which, you know, I mean, you know, it points to what you're saying about musicians changing, you know, their attitudes. And perhaps it also brings up the idea of musicians changing the business models that we operate under, and the way that we present our music, you know, to present it to people as something that they want, but at the same time that it's something that they can't get anywhere else but through us. And in fact, I saw on the uh, some uh, uh, some music website. There was an editorial of by this musician whose name escapes my memory. Another senior moment. He said, I took all of my music off of all social media and all streaming platforms. If you want to hear my music, you have to come right directly to me. And maybe I'm not sure. I'm not saying that I would that I'm going to take all my videos off of my YouTube channel or all of the posts off my Instagram, but in a way, he's got a point. That and this is part of how we can take power for ourselves. Which offering value, to people, the customers. If we want to look at it from a business perspective, because I often said that long time ago, Nona Hendricks told me something that I never forgot. She said, develop yourself as an artist, develop yourself as a business person, and keep them separate. So, and she was right. I mean, who am I to argue with Nona Hendricks? But offering something, that's...
What did she mean with separate? Because there's the artist side and the business side, but I think it should be together.
Well, I think what she meant was that you're not compromising. Yeah, you're not compromising either of them. But at the same time, you've got a point. You got a point. Where it's also possible to approach the business side with creativity. In fact, in my book, the first short story that's in there is called Kinds and Kinds of Creativity, where it uses a fictional story about different characters, and they're demonstrating how both the artistic and the business side can be equally creative. The guy Seth Godin had written a book called Your Music and People, where he was expanding on that idea that business can be creative as well, but and in light of that, we've got about 5.5 minutes left.
Let's do now another session if the flow is so good.
Yeah.
The problem, another problem we have musicians is we have actually, I call them the 1% musicians, which are let's say the good selling, famous musicians who make really much money. They have also a voice. Mm-hmm. And even if they don't have a voice, they could have a voice. Then we have the upper middle class musicians who are independent in terms of they have their own publishers, or there are other publishers, they have their own booking agency. Everything is covered. They can concentrate on the music and they have the team around them, right? And then we have the middle class, which is the DIY, do everything. I belong to it, and you too. I do everything. I have my own label. I'm of course my own publisher. Mm-hmm. I'm the band leader. I'm the producer. Once in a while, I'm a journalist, and so everything I do is really a one-man show. And then, unfortunately, everything that is under the middle class, it's the lower middle class, which is especially musicians who have no family and still can live from music. Because when you have family, a wife, or you're married and have children, it's impossible for you to make a living. And then we have the poor musicians in terms of who are more thinking in terms of, I just want to play. I just want to practice 8 hours. And if I go play somewhere in a club or so, even I don't care how many people come. I just want to play, So, who is really now in demand to do something for the whole community is the 1%. Bruce Springsteen, um, whoever you know, Herbie Hancock in the jazz scene, and they are not there. I mean, once in a while, even people like James Brown, Michael Jackson, Prince said good things at the Recording Academy's Awards
Yeah, Prince.
ceremonies.
Prince
Yeah,
was
Prince,
real
yeah.
vocal. Yeah,
So, but that's
and
not enough.
some of the younger ones like Chapel Rowan. Remember, I wrote that
Yeah,
article
yeah,
about
right,
her
right.
in
That
Doobie
was
Doobie Doo.
good.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
she stood
So,
up there and spoke truth to power.
and unfortunately, it's something is said, and it's like music. It fades out. It doesn't go one level up. No, uh, let's like a fusion reaction. Bumps, 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 bumps. No, bumps. Shh. So I think this is also one of the reasons why the public doesn't really respect us and have no problem to exploit our music. And it will get worse with AI. It's for sure. I
Yeah,
mean, uh, Spotify has already has ghost tracks which make millions of streams, and the major recording uh, companies, especially Universal and so, they try to start their own AI project, right? So I don't see really what we can do, especially for the most of the musicians who are really concerned about the future of music are more the middle class, who have
yeah,
the time to think and read books and even have the courage to say something. Unfortunately, the poor are poor, they don't say anything, and the most richest one, it's like, I mean, I don't care what Bruce Springsteen says in Europe about Trump. He should go to Europe and say, we musicians are really treated like shit in America. In this, because European countries pay better and have more respect for music than here in America, right?
Yeah.
you talked about changing of attitudes, and you're right. Uh, yeah, that's one of the things that I've gotten from MFM was it expanded my perspective on things, and it gave me the not only knowledge about how things work, how things can be done, but also gave me the attitude to to try new things. I mean, you know me. I mean, I sometimes experiment with different business things, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I have bad ideas just like anybody else. But if we could indulge ourselves in some just really wild thinking here. Some what scientists would call back of the envelope stuff. Where they grab an envelope and say, okay, let's try this. It's crazy. Build a Starship Enterprise or something. If you could build a business, that for music-based business that covers all of the, at least most of the need. Well, yeah, most of the needs of musicians, how and at the same time could stand up to all of these things like Spotify and the rise of the misuse of AI, because I do believe that AI is useful if it's used right, but
Like everything.
like everything, but if we could have, if we could start some kind of, business model or corporation or whatever you want to do, what could we do? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, some of the things I've already said is that the do-it-yourself philosophy works very well at this time, which means whatever you do should be you, whatever you own should belong to you, and you are the only person who let anybody use your work. So, for example, Spotify is really trying not to pay more. With the new subscription policy, they started that when you subscribe for
bundles.
Right.
Yeah, bundles.
So, and the other thing is, you get only paid any royalty after 1,000 streams a year.
Right.
So in my case, I never cared about Spotify, for example, and I don't care how many people stream it. Why? Because as a musician, I love to tour. I love to play in front of people. And I love to sell, if it's a CD, directly to my fans or to the consumers. So I don't want to depend on Spotify. And I don't believe that if my music is on Spotify, that somebody in a village in China will find me, become
and
my
suddenly
fan.
say, Eureka,
Yeah,
there he
right.
is, I love this guy.
Right. So for me, it's very basic. It's like whatever I can do to cover my expenses and can buy a nice dress for my wife, I do that. So I sell my CDs for $50 from my website. I'm not going to sell them on iTunes like on $9.99, or sometimes you can sell it on Bandcamp like by $13. I don't know. There's a limit for them. There's a limit too. So if I have music on other apps like Reverb Nation or CD Baby, and so I still have my website because I don't trust these apps. They can break down anytime.
Right.
And then
I have a website too.
That's the most important thing. Then I can only live from music if I know I have people who buy it. So if I don't expose myself to the public, then you can do whatever you want. You can't sell. So this is where the attitude aspect is in it, right? Mm-hmm. So that you are actually 24 hours music, 24 hours musicians and businessmen. And if you know that when you put something out in America, it's always safe to register the track to the Copyright Office, do it.
Absolutely.
And if you have the time, read terms and services of applications. Maybe you see already something that you don't like, don't register, don't give them your music, you know? So there should be a will to really to manage oneself business-like. And we have good examples. I mean, the best example I always can think of is Frank Zappa.
Yeah.
He did it. He did everything. He even went for free speech to the...
testified before Congress.
Yes, DC.
For the, the
he's
Parents Musical Resource Organization,
right.
Or whatever it was. But, he spoke truth to power, and you're right. You're right. In fact, so you brought up a good point with the terms of service. My last album, "The Power and the Longing," I went to disc makers to print up, first 100 copies of the physical CDs, and part of the deal. The package that I have with them is that getting distribution through CD Baby, and that would put me on Spotify, put me on iTunes, yes. put me on
that's the only way.
TuneCore and everything, yes. And but I started hearing some things about the terms of service. It was actually on a Instagram post by this woman, Crystal Delgado, who it's a top music attorney, who she's been very active in exposing all kinds of shenanigans the music business has been up to. And one of the things that she exposed is that these very same, CD Baby, TuneCore, et cetera, that they had stipulations in their terms of use where they would be able to use your music without your knowledge or consent for the purpose of training AI models, and with no compensation to you, to the owner of the music. And I saw this and I was like, what? And I researched this, and you recall I wrote an article about this. Yes. In Doobie Doo, and so from that point on, they don't get my music. So yeah, you're right. The whole do-it-yourself thing is definitely the way to go.
Another problem is what I would say is, if you know that you are exploited and you can take it without losing your self-respect as a musician and as an artist, then you can do it for a while. I would say that especially for younger musicians, if they want to be really on Spotify, they have to use CD Baby. But as far as they even know that CD Baby sends it out, as you said, to other platforms without any responsibility, because all these other platforms are training their AIs with the music they get from CD Baby, right?
Right.
So if you know that, and you still think, okay, in the beginning, yeah, okay, but when you know you're losing money, you have to stop it. So it's a question of also being streetwise.
Right.
So I think it's not even a good advice to say that. I prefer to have Robin Hoods or Muhammad Ali's around me who say, I punch whenever I want, and if somebody doesn't listen, I punch him in his face. In music, it's a delicate situation because you have to deal with people you don't know, can't talk to, you can't even force them through by law, or even if you sue them, you don't have enough money to pay your lawyer, Then, though we have the Case Act that if something goes wrong, you can have a small court possibility. But what corporation would go to a small court to fix a problem which is so small for them that makes no sense, So
yeah. In my book, I know I'm plugging my book again, but in my book there was a short story that you might recall called Chatbot. It's a science fiction story where it started in 2042, where there was a musician who was having some interesting dealings with his AI assistant, and in that story, I extrapolated the existence of a musicians' organization that operated as a nonprofit corporation that was, owned collectively by its members, that had legal departments, had independent distribution, had its own streaming services, and booking agents, dealings with music venues, etc., and that it brought all of this under one umbrella. And of course, I mean, I was writing a fiction story, so I can write anything I want and, make it sound plausible. But I wonder if something like that could exist, or it could be started. I mean, maybe that would be eventually the next inevitable step that organizations like us and others that we're working with, Jazz in the Neighborhood, might need to take in order to be able to stand up to the power of the music business. I don't know. You read the story,
Yeah, I read the story.
Yeah.
So,
Well, don't sound so enthusiastic about it.
well,
I'm sorry. I'm messing with you, man.
I
I'm
have
joking with you.
I have a problem that I'm so pessimistic, but need to be optimistic somehow. As you said, it's the whole issue is a moral issue. When you say somebody creates something and it has no value, that's immoral. It can be a musician, it can be a writer, it can be a plumber, whoever.
Right.
So, as you said, it's a moral question, and if the moral question stays as bad as it is, that that almost all consumers on planet think that music is for free. In Africa, we have the problem when somebody releases new music, it will be copied on cassettes, and
Bootlegged. Yeah, I was
bootleg.
talking to some friends of mine at in the music and media business in Senegal and in the Senegalese community in the United States. They were telling me that bootlegging is completely out of control.
It is. And I mean, we had a great talk about Fela Kuti last year, where we had so many people who worked with Fela Kuti, the Nigerian music activist, composer, band leader. And he was exactly what I hope that Africans would become, especially young musicians. And he was absolutely radical. He did what he did, and he said what he said.
Yeah.
And his music was also very kind of even accessible. The message were there. It was complete. He did complete. I call it complete music. And this is another way for taking a role in communal activities. Musicians are now in the best position to speak for their communities. And if you speak for a community, they will pay you. At least they will bring you rice, bread, or whatever, because they need you to speak for them. So each musician who has no message in his music has no way to sell. Of course, there still will be musicians who make music at home or at the toilet or wherever and get it on Spotify, and then it gets viral, They're still there. I mean, but what I mean is essential music which speaks for the people. It's about speaking about life, to be even kind of a leader. People like Frank Zappa, especially. I like Frank Zappa as a person. Or even James Brown did a lot.
Yeah.
And
Jimi Hendrix's later stuff. You listen to stuff.
Yeah, but he wasn't a spokesman. I never heard him. Only again when he was against the Vietnam War.
Well,
of course.
And then but then you get that song Straight Ahead. You listen to the lyrics of that.
Ah, okay, good.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, people who are really
Power of Soul. Yeah.
Like in the punk scene, with the Sex Pistols or so. I mean, we need punchy music. We have to surprise the public. that they really listen and get interested into what we are saying or agreeing to that, you know. So Bob Dylan, when you listen to his interviews, he speaks so quiet, he says things that make no more sense, but his music had a message, and still it works. What he's saying makes sense. And then he's asked, how could you make these lyrics? He said, I don't know, it just happened.
Yeah. And then
But,
in the hip hop community, you get people. I know I'm dating
course.
myself when I mentioned Public Enemy.
Public
They
Enemy,
scared
right.
the hell out of everybody, man. And then
We need them. We need
yeah.
all these, but you know, they fade out, fade. It's not continuing. I mean, we have still Patti Smith. She's as a poetess, and musician. She's still active. But it's not enough. I mean, we musicians really have to organize, and this is what MFM is about. It doesn't matter even, you don't have to be a member of MFM. As far as you're a member of the AFM, the Musicians Organization, or Music Workers Alliance, whatever, it doesn't matter. As far as we have people in organizations and we know how to reach out to them and collaborate and get on the street or boycott things. I mean, this is what is needed now.
And getting back to what I was suggesting about this radical new business model where we would build something. I can't help but recall something that's in American history that not many people know about. Is that there was a time where when Abraham Lincoln was the president of the United States, he set up a government service where credit would be issued, loans, credit, that was completely nonprofit. It functioned as a public utility. And of course, after his assassination, that fell apart, and the banking corporations that existed at the time. They're not going to teach you that in the public schools either. In fact, they're not going to teach you much of anything. But I digress. I keep thinking that maybe it's maybe that this kind of thing, where a radical business model that musicians, taking what you're saying about organizing and changing the attitude, and then taking that to the next step, where we're not only a social movement, but an economic power that at the very least that the corporations like Spotify and the rest of them, they have to deal with us not as a bunch of radicals in the street, screaming and shaking our fists in the air, or a bunch of people with standing there with our hats in our hands. That that we are a power to be reckoned with, and that we approach each other as equals. That's another thing we're lacking. Yes. I don't know. What do I know? I'm just Dawoud.
Well, let's say this. Actually, when I talked, you just mentioned before Ken Hatfield. Ken really said it in the right way. He says that we can only achieve things or make changes or can improve things if we make corporations lose income. This means like subscribers cancel the subscription for 1 year or so. That's the only way that they will listen to us. So, which again, it shows again, it's a moral thing, it's an attitude thing, character thing. So if people...
That's the foundation.
So I'm very happy that you agree with me.
Well, that's without that, we have nothing to build on.
Right. So this is, but I still want to continue with you with MFM, And I hope that the celebration party at Cutting Room on September 5th brings all the people together who are in MFM or are supporting MFM from outside, realizing that a real party together is not just enjoyment, it's also kind of a friendship. And friendship among musicians is a rare thing because many musicians don't make money, they run from one gig to the other gig. So after a gig, there's no way to talk to each other about the gig or share it or buy a drink for somebody. It's like, I must go home or I must go to the next gig, right?
Or I'm tired, you know.
Or I'm tired.
Stay out.
Right. So I hope that also as people, we become more humane and appreciate each other's existence as people and as musicians. So yeah, it sounds like MFM is a church or so, but it's not a church. I'm talking about common sense. What succeeded all the 100,000 of years is actually love to your job, love to your art, love to your people. And love means that you are really interested in that person. You are willing to listen, to ask questions, to share pain, to help out, you know. And if this happens, I think there's still a way that we can survive. We don't have to go on a Tesla rocket to Mars to start a new civilization there. I mean, it's ridiculous just to think about it, you know, that a man who's so rich and so powerful comes up with this image of a future.
Well, that's, you know, I mean, I'm all for space exploration. In fact, I follow space exploration like some people follow sports, but and you know, colonizing Mars. Well, that's a whole other discussion. But
yeah, of course.
Yeah, you know, I know. You know,
but Sandra was on Mars many times.
Yeah, he didn't die. He just went home. He's in Saturn saying, all right, I'm waiting for you guys to get here. But anyway, I think that pretty much covers it. And,
yes, I really talked. Was great. And we're celebrating
10 years this year, and I'm looking forward to the next 10 years. It's going to be one hell of a ride, man.
You know what? Promise me that you become then the president and I can retire.
Oh my God, me?
Yeah, you, of course.
Oh my God, I can't promise that, but I'll be there. I'll do what I can, man. I'll do what I can.
And let's go to Mecca together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's another thing. In fact, I'm working on that. But anyway,
good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed this conversation.
So yeah, I enjoyed this, and thank you for taking the time to dialogue with today. And I'd like to thank all of the viewers of this video for joining us. And to remind you that
it's not just a video; it's a podcast as well.
Podcast as well. The special edition of MFM Speaks Out, which hopefully that'll get up and running.
Yes, my job.
Time.
I'm sorry, I haven't done it I was so busy, but I have already 2-3 people in mind.
And anyway, so yeah, this has been a special edition of MFM Speaks Out. And again, we encourage you to visit us at musiciansformusicians.org to use our hashtags on social media, unity in the music community, and making music as a profession. And if you have any questions about us.
And musician with attitude.
And musicians with attitude, and be a musician with attitude. Exactly. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to us at musiciansformusicians.org. And if you're an organization that wants to partner with us, We would love to stand side by side with you. And
Yes.
again, thank you for sharing this time with us.
Thank you to me too, you too, I too, we too.
Join us for MFM's 10th anniversary celebration, Friday, September 5th, 2025 at 9 p.m. at the Cutting Room, located at 44 East 32nd Street, New York, New York, 10016. The highlight of the evening will be a special performance by the MFM Unity Ensemble, featuring Grammy Award-winning saxophonist Joe Lovano and 8-time Latin Grammy-winning pianist and Afro Latin Jazz Alliance founder Arturo O'Farrill. Their collaboration will celebrate both MFM's mission and the power of collective musical expression. Later in the evening, there will be another special performance by New York's new no-wave band SoSaLa, led by saxophonist and vocalist SoSaLa, and featuring Mark C. of Live Skull and drummer Andy Weintraub. The event will also include remarks from MFM board members, advisory committee representatives, and video tributes from supporters like NEA Jazz Master Dave Liebman, Jazz in the Neighborhood founder Mario Guarneri, and legendary bassist Steve Swallow. And you can purchase your 10th anniversary t-shirt at MFM's website, www.musiciansformusicians.org. Once again, that's MFM's 10th anniversary celebration, Friday, September 5th, 2025 at 9 p.m. at the Cutting Room, 44 East 32nd Street, New York, New York, 10016.